Did you know that next to our modern violin there's more than 10 different types of violins available on the planet? Actually, this was really interesting to me. So if you are curious about all the different types of violins, keep watching. So first of all, we of course have our modern violin. This is the violin that most of us are playing and that is used in classical music. Sometimes the modern violin is also called the fiddle, depending on what type of music you play on it. If you're playing classical music, you normally call it modern violin. But sometimes fiddlers, people that play folk music, they are calling their violin the fiddle, but it's still the same instrument. Sometimes fiddlers tune their strings differently, but still exactly the same instrument. Before we had this modern violin, we had a Baroque violin. Baroque violin is slightly different from a modern violin. Baroque violins were the types of violins that were used in the time of Bach and Vivaldi. And if we want to play music that sounds very similar to that time, then it could be great to play that on a Baroque violin. Baroque violins use gut strings and a Baroque-styled bow. They usually don't have a chin rest and they are played without a shoulder rest. Baroque violins have a little bit of a different sound than a normal violin. It sounds a little bit softer in a way. It's easiest to just watch the next video so that you can listen to what it sounds like. The next type of violin is really fun to play. I actually had the chance to play on one once. It is the Hardanger fiddle. It has 2 strings instead of 1 string for every violin string, and that creates a very beautiful and rich sound. The instrument comes originally from Norway and it is often used to play folk music. So have a look at this fiddle and it will probably blow your mind how beautiful it sounds and also how beautiful it looks. The next type of violin that a lot of you already know is the electric violin. The electric violin is great because you can add all types of different effects on it. Sometimes my students actually ask, should I play and start playing an electric violin because it sounds a lot softer. I don't really recommend an electric violin just for sounding soft. For that, a violin mute is much better. This is an example of a violin mute. You put it on your bridge and then your normal violin will also sound much softer. But an electric violin is actually really great if you want to add all types of different effects to your violin and want to sound almost like a guitar. Also, it can be great in specific settings, for instance for pop music and if you're playing in a band. It can also look really good and actually you will look probably like 200% cooler right away just because you just picked up an electric violin. I don't know why, but some people think that electric violins are way cooler. Though I think this is way cooler. I love acoustic instruments. Next to that, we also have a different type of violin. If you're in doubt, should I play electric violin or normal violin? There's the perfect violin for you, semi-acoustic violin. It looks like an acoustic violin, but you can still plug it in and play it like an electric violin as well. But it still also has the bigger sound of the acoustic violin. There's another violin which is really interesting. This is the 5-stringed violin. I actually met another violin teacher once. He had a 5-stringed violin that was also collapsible. Don't ask me how it is possible, but there were 5 strings on the violin and it was also collapsible to put in a suitcase to go on holiday. So yeah, really interesting what is all possible. I really love the 5-stringed violin because it adds another C string. So you can have even more depth. So actually, here we have the 4 higher strings and then there's a string that is even lower. And yeah, this can be great, for instance, when playing improvisations. For instance, if you have a loop station with your violin and then you can play your bass line first and after that you can improvise over it. That can be really fun with a 5-string violin. Just have a look at this beautiful 5-string violin. Did you know that there's also a violin that has a horn on it? That's very strange. A lot of you actually know that this violin exists, but didn't know that it is an actual thing. You can see it in the video of Lindsay Sterling, where she is playing on the Stroh violin. This is what it is called, Stroh violin. Just have a look at it. This is an actual instrument, a violin combined with a horn. I never had a chance to play on it. Did you? I'm actually really curious what it would be like to play on such an instrument. Then there's some other rare, interesting violins. Did you know that there's also a violin called the pochette? It is made to fit into your pocket. It's a very, very small violin, and you can watch it over here. Fun fact, this violin was often used by street musicians in the 15th to the 19th century. That's actually so interesting to me, to imagine that somebody has played on that and like traveled across countries with this beautiful small violin to play on the streets. I've played on the streets myself, and it is a very scary experience, but at the same time it's also very enriching. So I recommend to try it out if you haven't already and you are playing the violin as well. Another very old violin is the Viola da gamba. It's one of the predecessors of the violin, but it was actually also used in the same time of the Baroque violin. And you can have a look what it sounds like over here. There's two other violins that I want you to see before we end this video. First of all, here's the violin octet. It will blow your mind. And last but not least, here is the devil's fiddle. Did you ever have a chance to play on one of these instruments yourself? Please let me know in the comments. Also, if you know of any other interesting instruments that I haven't mentioned yet, please let them know to me. I'm really curious to find out about more weird and very interesting instruments. If you're interested to play one of these instruments, the modern violin or the fiddle, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I would be so happy to teach you how to play this instrument. Also, I have an online violin school for adult beginners. It's called Julia's Violin Academy, where I offer a step-by-step plan to learn how to play the violin. Check it out after this video, and I look forward to see you in the next lesson. Bye bye!